Pay close attention. What you are seeing today is fulfilling Bible prophecy.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you news as it relates to Bible prophecies. Well, Jeff, we have three interesting articles tonight showing the fulfillment of Bible prophecies. And to start us off, we're going to talk about a mysterious and deadly new outbreak of E. coli that has the nation's top disease detectives searching for answers. This particular strain is especially virulent, and a number of states are already affected, and there's great concern that this outbreak may spread further. David Muir of ABC said there are at least a dozen confirmed cases of E. coli, and the race is on to determine the cause after a 21-month-old baby girl died of this particular strain.
The nation's top disease hunters at the CDC are searching for a killer, a source of E. coli linked to more than a dozen cases already across 4 states: Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and Louisiana. New Orleans being the place where the 21-month-old baby girl died from this new strain. All the victims are believed to be affected by the same strain of E. coli. Although not all strains of E. coli are dangerous, this particular one carries the 0145 genetic fingerprint that produces a deadly toxin.
Those toxins are so poisonous that they can produce violent reactions like kidney damage and even death. Bill Marler, a food safety attorney, said the CDC is racing against the clock to find out the product that carries this deadly E. coli strain and get it out of the market before it sickens or kills anyone else. In fact, 5 of the confirmed cases are in the CDC's backyard right there in Atlanta, Georgia. And today, amid great concerns, Georgian authorities acknowledge they're just at the starting point.
J. Patrick O'Neill with the Georgia Department of Public Health said in a recent statement, "We know that these cases are all linked, and that would suggest that there was a common source somewhere along the way. We just don't know where." Officials say this time of year, these kind of cases become a growing concern as the weather warms and more outdoor cooking takes place. Often, the first suspicion turns to undercooked ground beef, chicken, or turkey.
While the CDC doesn't know if undercooked foods are the culprits here, they are reminding everyone to wash their hands after handling poultry, wash your fruits and vegetables, and cook your chicken and beef, particularly ground beef, all the way through. Now, even for those who consider themselves very careful cooks, ABC recently did a little experiment where they treated chicken with the glow powder. And in the kitchen of a willing participant, they turned the lights off after the chicken was prepared, after the dishes were washed and everything was put away. They turned on the black light and found the residue of chicken juice all over the kitchen.
Wow. As a result of this outbreak, as we said, the CDC is now in a race to find the cause as well as renew the warnings as the summer outdoor cooking season draws closer. But keep in mind, they haven't confirmed meat as being the culprit, they just suspect it. Well, that's not all that the CDC has to be concerned with. Sexually transmitted diseases continue to rise each year as well. Approximately 106 million people are affected with gonorrhea yearly, with roughly 700,000 of those cases occurring in the U.S. Now, recent warnings from the United Nations Health Agency and the World Health Organization have gone out concerning a superbug strain of gonorrhea.
Now, these new strains of drug-resistant gonorrhea have spread to countries around the world. Scientists have reported last year that a superbug strain of gonorrhea had been found in Japan in 2008. Now, that one was resistant to all recommended antibiotics and had warned at that time that it could transform into a global health threat.
This organism has basically been developing resistance against every medication we've thrown at it. said Dr. Manjula Lusti Narasimham, a scientist at the World Health Organization Department of Sexually Transmitted Diseases. She went on to say, "We are very concerned about the recent reports of treatment failure from the last effective treatment option, the class of cephalosporin antibiotics, as there are no new therapeutic drugs in development."
Wow.
That was their last line of defense.
The UN Health Agency said this past Wednesday that millions of patients may run out of treatment options. Countries including Norway, Sweden, Britain, France, and Australia are now reporting cases of the sexually transmitted disease gonorrhea that have become resistant to antibiotics.
If left untreated, gonorrhea can lead to pelvic inflammatory disease, ectopic pregnancy, stillbirths, severe eye infections, and blindness in babies, and even infertility in both men and women. Once again, gonorrhea is one of the most common STDs in the world. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the number of cases in the U.S. is estimated around 700,000, and globally over 100 million each year.
It's amazing. Well, to continue with the showing of the fulfillment of Bible prophecies and the current state of the U.S. military and how they're coping with the stress, we're going to turn it over to our field correspondent, Larry McGee. Larry, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Katan. While the war in Iraq appears to have ended and operations in Afghanistan seem to be nearing a close, the U.S. military is nonetheless experiencing a very disturbing uptick in suicide amongst its personnel. And up until the time of this report, it has continued to proceed at a pace which is threatening to break all previous records. As of Monday, 154 active service members have taken their lives so far. That's over one person per day, and significantly more than the 138 service members who have lost their lives in Afghanistan for this year to date. At this time last year, 130 active duty soldiers had taken their lives, and in 2010, that number was 123. Officials at the Pentagon were hopeful that the number of suicides might begin to level off after seeing them take a sharp rise during the most intense days of America's recent conflicts. Carl McCoy, a specialist in the U.S. military who survived 2 tours of those conflicts, recently became one of this year's statistics himself after shooting himself in the head, taking his own life, and shattering the life of his widow and family as well. That tragedy occurred in 2008 when the military conveys not having had adequate mental health personnel to meet soldiers' needs. And quite sadly, McCoy himself was actually scheduled to meet with the counselor at Fort Campbell in Kentucky just the day before his death. But due to insufficient staff, the meeting was canceled, and the following day, Carl took his life. Since then, the military has hired more mental health workers, and they have also made efforts to train soldiers to recognize the early signs of suicide. In addition, they are attempting to make soldiers more comfortable with asking for help, a difficult task since many servicemen view asking for help as a sign of some sort of weakness. And trying to make sense of it all, the Pentagon fingers the economy as one possible cause for the spike, since that same thing has been identified for a sharp increase in civilian suicides as well. An interesting point to note, since almost half of the military suicides are committed by young men and women who've never seen one day of combat. For YPN News, I'm Larry McGee. Katan, Jeff, back to you.
Wow. Thank you for that article, Larry. Seems like without hope and guidance, people are left to their own solutions.
Katan, a deadly strain of E. coli, you have a new drug-resistant form of gonorrhea, and military suicides increasing. All of this must have doctors and scientists, as the article said, searching for stronger antibiotics and new drugs from the schools of higher learning. However, the answers can only be found in the one book that they are not looking in, the Book of Yahweh, the Holy Scriptures. Up next, Yeshua Hawkins, the only one prophesied to explain them. Don't go anywhere. For YPN News, I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
And I'm Katan Alexander.
Thanks for watching.